Hello happy crocheters, this is Lindsay from windingroadcrochet.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make this really pretty textured shawl. If you like this tutorial, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. So here is a sample of the shawl we are making. It's an easy 2-row repeat, so I'm just going to show you up to this piece here, and then you would just repeat on. For this project, all you need is 1 skein of Caron Skinny Cakes. This is a size 3 or lightweight yarn. There are a lot of other cake yarns that are lightweight that will work as well. You will notice that this is almost a 9-ounce skein of yarn, and it has about 800 yards of yarn in it. I am going to be using a size J 6mm crochet hook. I'm going to need scissors and a yarn needle. If you have never made a triangle shawl before, I'm going to highly recommend you check out my pattern called the My First Triangle Shawl, as it will very slowly walk you through how to shape a triangle shawl. This one is very similar. We just do one different stitch in order to get that raised texture. So to get started, we are going to make a slip knot and insert our hook. And now we are going to chain 3. I like to chain 3. You can also chain 4 if you'd like. We are going to slip stitch to the first chain that we made to make a very small little circle. This is why if you'd like to chain 4 to make it a little larger circle, you're welcome to, but I prefer to chain 3. So I'm just going to slip stitch the first and the last stitch together. And in the center, I will work my stitches. So now I'm going to chain 2. And then working into the ring we made, I am going to work 4 double crochets. Again, if that chain 3 is too small for you to work into, you can start over and do a chain 4 and use that to make a circle. So I've worked 1 double crochet into my chain ring. I'm working a 2nd double crochet. Working a 3rd double crochet. And then a 4th double crochet. Be aware that our chain 2 is not going to count as a stitch for this project. So that is the first side of our shawl. To create a point, we're going to chain 2. That's going to be our center point. And now you will work 4 more double crochets into that chain ring that we made at the beginning. So this will complete row 1, and as you can see, we already have a cute little triangle shape. As we start row 2, we are going to chain 2 and turn. That chain 2 does not count as a stitch for this pattern. And we are going to work 3 double crochets into the first stitch. This increase will allow us to keep our triangle shape. So work 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and a 3rd double crochet into the same first stitch. Once we have that increase worked, now we are simply going to work 1 double crochet in each stitch until we reach our chain 2 space. For this row, that means in the next 3 stitches, but in the other rows, they may be more stitches. I'm just trying to phrase this in a way so that it will be a simple 2-row repeat pattern. So again, just work a double crochet in every stitch until you reach your chain space. When you get to the chain space, we are going to continue making that top point of our triangle. To do this, we're going to work 1 double crochet, chain 2, and then another double crochet all into that chain 2 space. So again, double crochet, chain 1 and 2, and then double crochet again into that same chain 2 space. That will keep a nice point at the top of our shawl. Now we are going to double crochet in every stitch except the last stitch. So working down this side of the row, we will double crochet in the next 3 stitches and work the 3 double crochet increase into the very last stitch. So we've made it all the way to the edge. Now we are going to work 3 double crochet into the very last stitch. And this is going to be the same for every single row. We will always work 3 double crochet into the first and the last stitch of the row. Again, my turning chain does not count as a stitch, so this is being worked into the last stitch, not into the top of the turning chain. So here is the completed rows 1 and 2. Now as we do rows 3 and 4, these will be our repeat rows. So to do row 3, we're going to chain 2 and turn. We're going to work 3 double crochet into the very first stitch. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and a 3rd double crochet all into that very first stitch. Now we're going to work a front post double crochet in every stitch across until you reach the chain 2 corner space. To make a front post double crochet, you're going to insert your hook on the right of your stitch, go around the back, and then bring it out on the left of your stitch on the front of your work. Yarn over and pull the loop through the stitch and create your double crochet. So let me show you this again. So normally we would insert our hook underneath the front and back loop at the top of the stitch. But for this project, we're going to be focusing on the post of the stitch. We're going to insert our hook from the right and bring it back out the left side of the stitch, going around the back of the stitch. So again, to see that with my hook, I'm going to go insert on the right, go around the back of the stitch, come back out on the left, then we can yarn over on the front of our project and create our double crochet. Working the stitches this way will give us a nice raised edge on the other side of the stitch. So we're going to work a front post double crochet on each stitch until you reach the chain 2 corner space. It does take just a moment to get used to the front post double crochet, but once you get the hang of it, this is a very easy shawl pattern to make. So we're working around the last stitch on this side of our shawl, making our last double crochet. And then here we are at our chain 2 space again, and we're going to work the chain 2 space always the same. It's going to be a double crochet, chain 2, so work a double crochet into the chain 2 space, chain 2 for our corner, and work another double crochet into that chain 2 space. Now working down the other side of our row, we are going to work a front post half double crochet, so again going around the post of the stitch, around the back and out the front, yarn over, pull up the loop, complete your double crochet. Do this to every stitch except the very last stitch. When you reach the very last stitch, we are going to work 3 normal double crochets into the top of the very last stitch. So 1, 2, and 3. Just regular double crochets into that last stitch. And there you go. And now you can see that raised texture we created by working the front post double crochets. So that is our first repeat row, row 3. Now we're going to do our second repeat row, is row 4. And it's going to be very similar to our other rows. We're just going to chain 2 and turn our work. Work 3 double crochets into the very first stitch. So 1 double crochet, our second double crochet, and our third double crochet, all worked into the very first stitch. Now we will work 1 double crochet in every stitch until we reach our chain 2 space. For this row, that means you're going to work a double crochet into the next 9 stitches, but ideally every row that number is going to increase by 3 stitches. So just think about it as you're going to work a double crochet in every stitch until you reach that chain 2 space. Again, once you reach your chain 2 space in our top corner, we're going to double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet into this space. So here's our first double crochet, our chain 2 to create the corner, and another double crochet into that chain space. Now working down the other side, we're just going to double crochet in each stitch except for the last stitch. That last stitch is where we work our increase. So double crochet in each stitch, which in this case again is going to be 9 double crochets into the 9 stitches. And then after that we will work our increase. But the next row it's probably going to be 12 double crochets to get across, and then 15. It's going to increase each row. So just double crochet until you reach your very last stitch. In that last stitch, that is where we are going to work 3 double crochets. That is our increase to keep the triangle shape. So work 3 double crochets into that stitch. And once you get this memorized a little bit, memorize these 2 rows, you can easily just sit and watch TV and just know that every other row you're working front post double crochet stitches. So now all you want to do is continue to repeat rows 3 and 4 until your shawl has, I believe, 44 rows. I was able to get 44 rows out of my skein of yarn. But for you, if you get a little less, it was a very large shawl, so that's probably going to be just fine. If you can get more rows and you want to keep going, absolutely keep going to make this shawl. You just want to make sure you end in an all normal double crochet row, as I think it looks better for the end of the shawl. So just continue repeating rows 3 and 4 until the shawl is as large as you'd like. Because of this, you could even use a different size yarn. You would just want to use that size yarn and a hook size that you are happy with the drape that it is providing you. So for example, I'm using a J hook with a lightweight yarn. If I was going to use a worsted weight yarn, I might consider using a K or 6.5 millimeter hook, or even a size L hook, which I believe is an 8 millimeter. You just would have to try out a few rows and determine what would be the best hook for it. Of course, if you use a thicker yarn and a larger hook, you would simply work less rows. Continue working those rows until you're happy with the size. So if you want to use a different yarn size, that is definitely an option. So quick word about color changes. I did not cut my yarn anywhere. I just allowed the color to change where it would like. I am about 14 rows or so into this now, and you can definitely see the really pretty texture. You're going to have texture on one side of your shawl, but not the other. So you could, one, wear the shawl in 2 different ways, or you don't have that texture laying on your back when you're wearing your shawl. So that is a nice little benefit to only having the texture on one side of the work. So I'm just going to continue repeating rows 3 and 4, working one row with front post double crochets and the other row where those center stitches, those center side stitches are worked in all double crochet until I have a total of 44 rows. So I made it to the end of my 44th row. I'm just going to work the last few stitches. I'll work my last increase, and then I will fasten off. And because this was all worked as one skein, I only have 2 yarn ends to weave in, which is really nice. So I'm just going to finish up working 3 double crochets into the very last stitch. This is a double crochet row that I am ending with. I'm going to fasten off my yarn end. I'm just going to yarn over once more and pull the yarn in through the last loop on my hook to create a knot. And then we just have 2 yarn ends to weave in. I'm just going to thread the yarn end on my needle, and then it's always a good idea to weave your yarn ends back and forth at least 3 times. That makes it so that they can go through the wash without unraveling the yarn end much easier. We're just going to fasten off that yarn end, and then we're going to go down to the center of our shawl. We'll thread this yarn end onto our needle, and working on the bottom of the row 1 stitches, we're just going to work back and forth 3 times. So here is our finished shawl. It is a good idea to block this. To block a piece, you would just mist it lightly with water, lay it out and shape it, and then let it dry, and it will help relax the stitches when you do this. And you're going to get to see those little lines that have developed because of the front post double crochets. I just really like this shawl. I think it's really easy being a 2-row repeat, and it's really pretty with the nice texture that it has. I really hope you enjoyed the video tutorial. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments below. I'm here to help. Also, let me know what other kind of video tutorials you'd like to see me do, as well as let me know what is your favorite cake yarn. What kind of yarns do you like to use? And I can try to use those in my patterns. So as always, thank you so much for watching.